Hello, welcome to my September wrap-up video. This is quite late in the month because I've been sick the past couple of weekends. The first weekend I was in the full throes of a cold, and then I was just too bunged up the weekend after to really be up to filming. Like I just couldn't talk without coughing, and it wasn't nice. So I decided I would do it later. And here we are. So it's now the 20th of October and I'm only just doing my September wrap up. So I'm not actually going to do a TBR this month. I thought about it several times as there were some interesting looking challenges up this month. But ultimately I've decided not to do it. I want a month off where I can just try and, well, a couple of weeks now at this point, a couple of weeks where I can just try to finish up some of the books I've already started, complete some of the TBRs from previous months, that sort of thing. And today is Dewey's readathon as well, so I quite like going into readathon without a formal TBR. I mean, I have this enormous TBR behind me to choose from anyway, so yeah, no TBR, but wrap up. So as you might know, if you normally watch my videos, September is short book September for me, and I did make a really good attempt at reading quite a few short books, but it didn't go so well. There were one book I started which went back to the library before I could finish it, unfortunately. Another book which I just struggled to get into and so I didn't finish it by the end. But I did manage to finish one short book. Yeah. One short book actually within the month, and another short book that I've actually finished this month, October. So yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't my most successful short book September. That would still be the first year, last year. But anyway, what did I manage to read this month? So if you've watched my most recent video, you will know how much I loved the first book I finished in September, which was Tess of the Road by Rachel Hartman. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but suffice it to say that it's an absolutely incredible book. It's a sequel of sorts to her previous two books, Seraphina and Shadow Scale, following a different character from Seraphina's life, her younger half-sister Tess, who is a very troubled young woman who's undergone some stuff that isn't really very nice in her life, and her situation is just horrible with her parents and her twin sister right now, and so she ends up deciding to run away, and the book is really just about her sort of going on this quest to discover this wild serpent, but mostly just walking and processing the trauma and everything that she's gone through in her life, and it's just so beautifully written. I loved it so much, and I'm not doing a very good job of describing it right now because I haven't done a review in a while, but do check out that video for more info on why I loved it so much, and please do pick it up and read it. I think you will have to read the previous two books first to really appreciate it, plus there are massive spoilers in it for what happens at the end of Shadow Scale, but I think it's worth it because it's an incredible book and I would strongly recommend it to you if it sounds like your kind of thing. After I finished reading Tess of the Road, I desperately wanted more of that world, so I found and read the Audition, which is a short story set before Seraphina. It's really quick and I really enjoyed it, and it just made me really appreciate the amazing world building in this series all over again. Next up, the only short book September book that I managed to finish within the month, 5 Go on a Strategy Away Day, which is one of the Enid Blyton adult parody Famous 5 retellings, and let me tell you, this is amazing. I loved this so much, so much. It's just brilliant. I read 5 on Brexit Island, I think last year, which was really funny and I did really enjoy it, but this was just a whole nother level of genius. The best part is when the Secret Seven show up and the Famous 5 hate the Secret Seven. It was just brilliant. I loved it so much. I nearly cried laughing just at that one scene. But anyway, I would highly, highly recommend this book. To be honest, I've looked at the titles for the rest of the series and they don't really appeal to me. So I think I might just leave it at having read this and 5 on Brexit Island. But I'm happy with that. This was so brilliant. I feel like that's it. I don't need to read any more famous 5 parodies. This topped it off. This was just, yeah. I just can't imagine any of the other titles is going to beat this. If you have ever gone on like a strategy day or a team building exercise or any of those kind of things, it just parodies them brilliantly. And yeah, it's just wonderful. Highly recommend this. If you need a good laugh, pick it up. If you don't need a good laugh, you probably do need a good laugh. You're just in denial about it and you should pick it up anyway. Next up, I read The Exact Opposite of Okay by Laura Stephen, which I just loved the cover illustration of. I read this for my YA book club YA, and it was a really, really brilliant book to discuss at a book club because it is a really, really interesting story and it deals with so many issues that we could have just talked all day about it, I think. We just kept going, you know, it was one of the discussions where you kind of realise things as you're having the discussion. You're like, oh, but what about this? And then somebody else is like, and what about that? It's just really, it's got a lot in it to discuss. So it's about a girl who, she's really sex positive and she's quite happy with her life and her friends, and, you know, she isn't very well off. Her parents died in an accident a number of years ago. She lives with her grandmother who doesn't have very much money, and she's desperate to get a good job and make some money to basically look after her grandmother and pay her back for the time and money that she's spent on her. But you know, she's in her last year of school and she's also got to make some decisions about what she wants to do with her life. And then one of her friends decides to try and get her to go out with him, and she's just not into it. And B, some nude photos of her get leaked onto the internet, and she ends up being the centre of all this controversy, not only at her school but in the general media, because he's the son of a politician, and everything kind of goes from there, really. And it covers a lot of stuff about slut shaming and revenge porn and the concept of the friend zone and nice guys, and there's so much into it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I struggled a bit with the setting because I believe the author's British, but it is set in the US, and at times I wondered whether it might have been a stronger book and have a little bit more, I think that it would kind of go in directions that were more unexpected if it was set in the UK. But at the same time, I understand why the author chose to set it in the US, because revenge porn is illegal in the UK and there are still states in the US where it's not. And so to tackle the issue with the plot that she wanted, it had to be set in the US, where in a location where it's not illegal. And so yeah, it kind of played out in the way that I thought it would, whereas I think if it was a story set in the UK, then it could have been a bit more kind of unexpected. But it was still very, very interesting and enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else Laura Stephen does. The last 2 books I finished reading in September were audiobooks. First of all, I finished Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I listened to this on audiobook, and it's read by Lin-Manuel Miranda, which I actually didn't know before I put hold on it at the library. So that was a nice surprise. I found this really enjoyable but quite slow paced. I don't know whether it would have been a faster read if I'd read the, you know, if it wouldn't. Well, obviously it would have been a faster read if I'd read the print copy, because I can read faster than I can listen, but I feel like it would have felt pacier if I'd read the print copy. Like, I would have got into it, it wouldn't have taken me so long. Sometimes I find that it's easier to get through slow-paced books when they're audiobooks, though. This is interesting. What did you think? I want to talk to somebody who read the print copy now and see what they thought about the pacing. Because honestly, it's the only thing that I found difficult with this book. It was a really compelling story, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I think it was just because it is about a boy very slowly coming to terms with who he is and his sexuality and how he feels about his best friend. It did kind of drag in places, but who knows? That could have just been my mood at the time. I'm not really sure, but I did really enjoy it, and I would have recommended it to you if you think that's the kind of book that you'd be into. And finally, I read Shiny Broken Pieces, which is the sequel to Tiny Pretty Things by Dhonielle Clayton, and I'm just going to have to check her name. Sona Charaipotra. So I read Tiny Pretty Things last month, and I really loved it because it's basically Dance Academy as a book set in New York but darker. So it's set in a ballet school, and there's the three main characters who kind of dance and practice and backstab and try to injure each other in order to get to the top and make it in the ballet world. And so after listening to Tiny Pretty Things, I was really looking forward to Shiny Broken Pieces. And Shiny Broken Pieces was satisfying in that it was more of the same, but that was also why I didn't love it. Because I wasn't so sure about the character development. It kind of felt a bit unfinished, like there should be another book in the series, but also it was quite conclusive. Like, I liked the ending, but I just kind of felt like I wanted something a bit different, actually. So even though I liked having the continuation of the story and seeing characters again and going back into that world, I kind of wanted more of a twist, more character development, some kind of different angles on it. Yeah, it just kind of... I liked the ending, but it wasn't as satisfying as it could have been, if that makes sense. I don't know anybody who's actually read these two books, so I'd be really interested if you have, if you could let me know in the comments what you think about them, because I'd like to discuss that and see whether you agree, whether you kind of... I felt like I was left wanting more, but I didn't want more. If that makes sense. Like, I was okay with how these books ended, but I would have liked the second book to have something different about it. I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but I did still enjoy it, and I would recommend these books, especially if you kind of want some, I guess, escapism, really. Because they are set in this very different world from the everyday, and dance books can be quite escapist, but at the same time they are quite dark. They are quite heavy, and yeah, you probably need to be in quite a positive frame of mind to read them and not be depressed. Does that make sense? But at the same time, I still find them escapist because of that whole dance school unreality. You know, it's not something I've ever experienced, so it's very different from my life and what I grew up with and all that kind of thing. But anyway, let me know if you've read them and what you thought of them in the comments below. And the same goes for any of the other books I've mentioned in this video. So that's the end of my wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, I forgot to mention one other thing I read this month, which isn't a book. It's my partner's comic. Isn't it beautiful? Look at this cover. So when he first got the full art back. I read it through to give him some feedback, and since then I've read the final version, and it's just beautiful. Look at it. I will put a link in the description box down below for where you can buy a copy if you like. It's only £2 for a PDF and £3 for a print copy plus shipping. It's about a group of kids who play in a tower block, and get transformed into skeletons. I'm not doing a full proper review of this because it's only 20 pages long and I'd have to tell you the entire plot. But yeah, check that out in my description. He's also got some free comics if you want to check out his style first on his website. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you would like to read more books but don't know where to start, or you have a friend that you'd like to get into reading, I have a free e-course and I have linked that in the description below as well. So you can sign up for that or pass a link on to any friends you think might be interested, and it just basically takes you through different ways to discover books that you'll love, ways to get involved in the bookish community, that kind of thing. So please check that out if you think it sounds interesting. Thank you again. You'll see me again soon. Bye.